Are Americans really obsessed with iPhones? Why is that? Programmer here. Apple has always been popular due to the brand recognition, but they capitalize on that with their Apple environment to essentially hold people hostage on their platform. Once you switch to Apple, habits are formed using Apple's specific layout for apps and setting and functionality that anything from Windows and Android seem needlessly complicated, which drives customer retention for iPhones. Apple's electronic environment also makes it much easier to connect Apple products and some non-Apple products together without much fuss. This is great, but if you need to do your own IT stuff in the future, you're bang out of luck. Lastly, Apple has pulled off psychological attacks on their customer base to drive them to push their friends into buying iPhones. Did you hear about the ugly Android color on Apple Messengers? It was a 100% calculated move to push existing customers to peer pressure Android users to switch. Is this a stupid reason? Yes. Does it work? Yes. People have lost friendships for not switching to the iPhone. It's weird. I have an iPhone but have never cared what phone someone else has. It's really a stupid thing to care about, and if I met someone that did, I probably wouldn't like them. It's because Americans don't really use WhatsApp. Over in the rest of the world, WhatsApp is the default messaging app. For the majority of people, everyone uses it, young and old. And regardless of whether they have an iPhone or Android, you might well use other apps too. But virtually everyone has WhatsApp installed, and you know if you have someone's phone number, you can reach them on it. In America, for some reason they don't use WhatsApp much, and so you can't rely on someone having it. So people have iPhones because of iMessage, which is quite similar to WhatsApp, and is built into the regular texting app. So anyone who has an iPhone has iMessage. And in the same way WhatsApp has become the default communication app in the rest of the world, iMessage has become that in America. Androids don't have an equivalent to iMessage, the built-in texting app, and just uses standard SMS, which is very outdated these days. And of course iMessage doesn't work on Android. Quite surprised that no one else has mentioned this. I hate this iPhone versus Android argument. I switched from Android to iPhone a couple years ago for work. I was a power user. Everything about my phone was customized. It took me a while to get used to the fact that I simply cannot do that on the iPhone. And that's about it. That's the major difference between them. That and the Apple environment is nice if you have multiple Apple products. At the end of the day, the hardware of every phone is different, and it's about what's important to you and your use case. The major difference between them is a slight change in the UI and shortcuts. Apple is more restrictive, but it creates a more unified UI experience between iPhone versions and apps. Android is more customizable. One is better than the other. It's just different strokes for different folks. That being said, I would commit crimes for a good Linux-based phone OS that actually got app support and development. Apple, as a brand, has marketed itself as a lifestyle choice since the days of desktop computers. The PC user mentality from that time was that a PC was a tool that should be valued for its ability to affordably meet and be customized to meet the needs of the user. That mentality persisted when smartphones showed up. Apple continued with the lifestyle choice, and Android was the choice for folks who wanted a customizable experience not dictated to them by the manufacturer. Now, the iPhone is a status symbol. People feel better if they have the latest and greatest iPhone like their friends do. It is much rarer for Android users to behave that way. Since they're very impractical, I can call, text, and use apps. IDK what else there is. It does everything I need it to and has a very simple and appealing UI. All? No. Some? Yes. Personally, I use an Android. I hate the stupid limitations that iPhones put on you, especially when you try to interface with PC. I also wanted to do some development work, and it's way easier to do it on your Android phone than it is on iPhone. Lastly, I like customizing it how I want, not how Apple wants. Pixel user here. Definitely been told I am untrustworthy, or been clowned for my phone, since they're very impractical. Says who? Smartphones at this point all have pretty much the same functionality at the end of the day. And if you're using other Apple products, they sync together really well. American Android user here. I really don't understand the Apple cult. East European here. 90% of the people I know own iPhones. They like the longevity and better resale value, I guess. People here need their phone to just do phone stuff, so no need for choosing a complicated OS. No. Up until extremely recently, Android held the majority of the market every year since the conception of the smartphone. When apps like TikTok and took off iPhones, it took a minuscule lead in the younger generation on those apps, which is why you hear about it more. It has a good camera. Android still leads in areas of affordability, battery life, App Store availability, the number of different phone options, and the number of products it supports, which makes it better for average users. I have the best Samsung phone out there right now, and I would pick it over Apple anything. It's sweet as hell. Edit. Also, because the iPhone has conflated value, it has good resale ability. So, people will sell one older model for a slightly less older model. So some they aren't buying new necessarily. With Android, I see a lot more people buying new because they can afford more. This whole thing between the two phone types is a stupid fictional fight. If a real person didn't like you because you didn't have an iPhone, that person would be an asshole. Canadian here, and most people I know have an iPhone over Android. Like 6,070% of them, myself included. I checked online and it says in Canada iPhone has 60% of the sales. Android is 40%. It's because of iMessage, and Americans just don't use WhatsApp. They hate the green bubble from iMessage. Plenty of people here, including myself, have switched from Android to iPhone and vice versa simply because of preference. Nobody really cares until you have to be added to an iMessage group chat, lol. They're just tools to get the job done. I used to think like you and hated Apple with a passion. But one day I decided to give it a try and got my first iPhone. It was a 4. Slowly but steadily I started easing into the Apple ecosystem, and now I just can't see myself outside of it. I love and use Linux almost every day, but Apple just works. Honestly, I see more iPhones here in Switzerland, and Europe in general, than I've seen in the US. In the US, your phone OS is like politics. Everyone has a strong opinion and there's only 2 options. I am an Android user, and I intentionally picked an iPhone for my mother because she is not tech savvy and I didn't want to be bothered to help her with tech issues and kick it over to the local Apple Store. I am from Europe and we generally despise iPhones since they're very impractical. Don't know where in Europe you're from, but iPhones are very common. Most people pick Android or Apple and are fairly happy with their choice. I assume the case is the same in the US. Once you are in the iPhone ecosystem, you are kind of locked. I don't want to contemplate moving 15 years of photos, contacts, what's for my entire family onto another platform. Don't forget iPads. Seamless to iPhones. And very user-friendly. Very family-friendly. And why should I trust Google over Apple anyway?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.